Hi, folks, and welcome back to the Menstrual Cycle Mastery podcast. I'm Lisa, and in this episode, I am going to be sharing an interview that I had. It's actually quite a few months ago old. This interview I did with Martyna. Martyna is a graduate from the Menstrual Coach Academy from a year and a half ago, and we caught up about 6 months after she finished her training with me on the course and with the group. And we chatted all about her experience on the program, but also she very generously shares about her own personal journey with endometriosis. She has done a lot of mind body healing, a lot of inner work. She shares about ancestral trauma, ancestral healing, healing trauma, healing grief as well, her relationship with grief, and she talks about her now relationship with endometriosis and her menstrual cycle and where she's at. So that's a really interesting conversation to listen to. Martyna is also a very talented photographer, creative person, writer. She's very involved in the literature world as well, runs two book clubs, and is just bringing so much out into the world. So I'm really excited to share this interview. She goes into a lot more detail about her experience in the Menstrual Coach Academy, as well as the things she learned in supervision and her journey with building her client practice, building a business, and what she is learning and how the course has benefited her in that regard and in her personal life as well. So I really hope you enjoy this interview. If you are interested in joining us this year, I'd love to have you. Do listen to this interview. It'll give you more insight into the work we're doing. We share a lot more about what you can expect on the course and the things you're going to learn. The deadline for this year's group is Monday, I think it's the 2nd of September. So hit the link down in the show notes of this episode and you can learn more about the program and join the course. And as always, if you have any questions at all, just send me an email or leave a comment. Have a great one. Talk to you soon. Okay, hi everyone. Welcome back, and I am very excited to have Martyna Przybysz here with me today, if I pronounce that correctly. Yay.
Yeah.
Some nearly. So Martyna is a graduate of the Menstrual Coach Academy in 2024, 2023, 2024. And you are now working as a menstrual cycle coach. You're also a photographer as well. You are a deep spiritual creative person. And I'm very excited to have you here and chat with you all about your work, what's happening in your work, the work you've done so far. I know you've also been on an endometriosis journey as well. And
Mm.
yeah, so you're so welcome, Martyna. Thanks for being here. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me. Oh, really happy to be here and yeah, to be able to chat with you freely. I'm aware that it's being recorded, so I'm like, okay, gosh, do I need to like have a prepared intro? But yeah, I'll just try and flow with it.
Yeah.
So I am doing good. I'm kind of aware of the fact that the year is ending and like I'm trying this year, I'm trying to just let the time just roll over rather than be like, okay, I should have been here, achieved this by today. So I'm really trying to go more gently on myself. And
Mm,
I think doing this is also how I embody menstrual cycle awareness, even if I'm not cycling. So
mm,
it's almost like I'm trying at the moment. I'm on day 62 of my cycle because of my endometriosis. I was on the pill for the past couple of years and came off it recently. Had a couple of cycles, and now I suppose I'm kind of in the in between, in the gray area of still getting my cycle back and still um, basically my hormones are sort of adjusting. And I think it's not so much like I'm not so much focusing on the hormones, but more on the spiritual side of it and how I'm managing the ebbs and flows of my moods and energies
mhm.
while I'm waiting to bleed. So I'm kind of in this, like, it feels like a messy middle, and I think that's why it's so hard to like talk about it, but also yeah, just hard to put words to it, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
Mm,
where I'm
thank you, Martina. It's good to hear you. And for context for anyone listening, we're like mid-December. It's literally going to be Christmas in a couple of days. And so hence our polo neck jumpers today
Yep.
and our vibes. And yeah, I hear you with the messy middle. It sounds like you're in a kind of transition, uncertain place, but still nourishing yourself. And I see that a lot in myself personally at the moment too. And a lot of my clients are, it's midwinter,
Mm.
kind of figuring things out, aren't we? I would love for you to introduce yourself and your work to the listeners and how you came across menstrual cycle work and what you're doing now.
So do you want me to go from the very beginning when I first discovered menstrual cycle awareness,
Well, whatever
or
feels comfortable. Yeah.
yeah. So I guess I arrived at this work through my own journey with endometriosis and struggling with my cycle on the whole. I suppose endometriosis was a catalyst for wanting to learn about myself and the cycle. I think possibly similar to a lot of those suffering from or with endometriosis. I never know if I'm suffering from it or with it or whether it's like something that I'm in a relationship with, you know. Um, or it's just a part of me that doesn't necessarily define me.
Mm,
I, through my journey with this sister of sorts, I realized that I have not been taught anything about my cycle apart from my period. So I think I'm on year 5 of menstrual cycle awareness, and I still feel like there's just so much to discover, and it's like it's such a potent, not even a ground. It's like this universe. It's like a pot that doesn't really have a bottom, almost like it's a yeah, like a bottomless pot of magic.
mm,
That's how I would describe it. Um, so I don't even know, like I've been trying to pinpoint like a moment when it clicked, but I think it was a mixture of um, understanding that there was more of a psychological component to what I was going through, and there was like a disembodiment component to my journey. And once these pieces came together, I was able to bring so much more awareness to my own journey with endometriosis and therefore start healing. I I want to stress like how, healing is continuous in that sense because there's no cure for endometriosis as such. And I strongly believe like whoever tells you there is, you know, you shouldn't really follow their advice because there is like equally I don't feel so strongly that it's some kind of a sentence is yeah,
mm,
essentially it's a continuous journey of healing,
mm,
working with endo, and menstrual cycle awareness played a huge part in my journey, and I think that's why I ended up where I am today, which is wanting to spread that awareness and share it with other women, and not necessarily and people who menstruate, and not necessarily just with those who have endometriosis or who journey with endometriosis, um, but anyone who's disconnected from their cycle and their body. Um, so yeah, this is like the overarching um, journey that I've been on, the umbrella of kind of, and there's like little steps under that umbrella that yeah I can go into, but
thanks, Martina, for sharing that. I loved how you talked about endometriosis being a continuous journey of healing. And as someone who's also had that diagnosis, I feel like relief, when you say that, because there's a lot of pressure
Mm.
online and on social media and in healing spaces. Like really, there's really helpful stuff out there, really helpful stuff. And there's so much more information than we had before, but it can be a lot of pressure to have to like heal it and fix it. Um, I'm curious when did you come to that realization and that permission in yourself to be really present with your, like you said, your relationship with endometriosis from a one day at a time approach as opposed to expectations?
Mm. That's an interesting question. Was there a moment? Uh, I think, okay, yeah. I think there was it's almost like a journey within the journey. So, in 2019, when I still didn't know that I had endometriosis. I already, it was like a seed was planted. I connected the fact that stress and grief exacerbates my endometriosis. I was going through a severe period of grief, and I think it's called preemptive grief when you know someone is dying. So it's almost like they, you start grieving before they've even died. And interestingly enough, it was my grandfather dying, but he was kind of like a third parent. He brought me up, but also he was a widower of a grandmother who died when I was really young, and I was 7 when she passed, and she was also one of my primary carers. She was kind of like my nanny back in the 80s. That's what you would do. Your nanny would be your grandma, and she, only later on I connected the dots, like the grief that I felt after her passing was directly linked to my endometriosis. So what I'm trying to say by mentioning this is that I could see that there was a direct link, but I just couldn't quite yet almost like name it. So I could see the cyclical issues were directly linked to the grief. Um, and I think I used to almost like confuse it with stress and, overstimulation. And I still think that plays a factor and it contributes. But for me personally, the major part was the grief.
Mm.
And when I got my diagnosis, which I already, like, I self-diagnosed before I got the official diagnosis
Mm.
because I just knew. Um, Very quickly, it sort of just started making sense. And then I worked with multiple practitioners, including like shamanic practitioners who have taken me on like past lives and like intergenerational type of trauma journeys. And it all sort of came into, a bigger picture in front of me. Um, and I think the permission came from knowing that I can't single-handedly or like, with one sort of a magical fix undo even like generations of trauma that live within my body. And if you believe in that kind of stuff, like the past lives and all of that stuff. So, but I'm more like, as much as I'm not dismissive of the past lives, like that's something that exists within like my not even understanding, but it's like an intuitive thing that is just there. I'm more connected with the past generations and the trauma that is passed down. And like I've understood that, there is a lot of like gentleness and patience and time required. So therefore, I am also undoing by uh, sort of adapting that slow and more compassionate kinda approach. I'm also healing those past generations in a way through me. Um, and if endometriosis is my grief, I'm healing a lot of grief, and that's not going to, yeah, be undone within a year, and possibly it might not be undone in this generation. If I was, and yeah, in my lifetime, and I don't even mean, and and kind of brings me to like, what if I didn't have biological children? there's still, there's still younger generations that I nourish now. So like I am passing on the baton and like, still letting them continue that work, or like almost like giving them permission, or teaching them, or kind of intuitively or on a sort of subconscious level passing on that sort of slower way of healing and
Mm.
um yeah, does
I
that
love,
make sense?
yeah, it does make sense, Martina. And thank you for sharing so vulnerably and so honestly. I think it's great to hear because you don't hear it very much, the emotional sides of chronic pain. And, you spoke about grief. Yeah, it's so powerful to well, firstly, it's so brave to consider our emotional past as playing a role in our pain journey.
Mm.
And it's not easy, because grief is like in my personal experience one of the hardest emotions to process. It's very painful, it's very heavy, and
Yeah.
it comes with a lot of things, and so it can feel very scary to go there. But I think it's very brave. And when I myself processed my own grandfather's grief, who I was also very close with, by
Mm.
going through that, I realized that actually the reason that was so hard was because I loved him so much. And I felt so loved by him. And when I came out that other side, it was like I had this gift. I had this like untouchable, everlasting love that I still feel, and it was so beautiful. And it did take me going on a course about grief to figure that out.
Mm.
I went on a whole, like, I think it was like a weekend workshop with this like spiritual healer in Ireland. Um, and it was funny because I was actually grieving a relationship at the time when I went on that workshop, and then all that stuff about my granddad came up too. So I love that you share that, because from the nervous system perspective that I'm always talking about, and the pain science that I'm always talking about too, is when we have suppressed emotions. You talked about stress. Like stress could be like things we're doing, your to-do list, like bills to pay, etc. But if our body is holding on to difficult feelings that we're not aware of, that's also stress. Like that's a lot of internal labor,
Yeah.
keeping it, keeping it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that expression, internal labor.
Yeah.
Because it's laborious, like it's so tough. And I think, you it's almost like we don't give ourselves credit for like the behind the scenes work that we do internally sometimes. Like, oh, I haven't done anything this year, or I haven't done anything this week. What
Yeah.
if you've been working through your grief and your trauma,
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
does that not account for anything?
100%. Oh my gosh. Yeah, exactly. So that your inner, when you're processing emotions or reflecting on things or doing like going on those deep journeys, you're working hard, you're doing the work. So I think, yeah, for those listening to that, I'm sure you're nodding your heads and think, God, shit, yeah, I am. I'm doing a lot of work
Mm.
here. So yeah, I'd love to hear about then, speaking of internal labor, because I know you're now working with clients, you've launched a new website, you're launching your practice, and you've been working so hard in the academy and doing. Martina was just one of the most diligent students, really taking it all in and so enthusiastic, and I loved having you there. I'd love to hear about, where you are with the professional side of this work and how you got there and what made you decide to step into that.
Mm. So I think a lot of this work is, for me, has been about like taking ownership of being a business owner. Like, you know, it's okay for me to sit in my power and like, this is not a persona, like this is me, like I embody this and it's safe. So I think I sort of, like when I first graduated, I went straight in. I was like, I'm not wasting any time. Like there's people that I need to help.
Mm.
They need me, like my medicine is needed. And I sort of had to like I did for spring and summer, I worked with clients, and then I had to take a bit of a step back and be like, okay, how do I want to do this? What's the bigger picture?
Mm.
And, really sort of sit with this awareness that this is a long game. Like it's not, and it's something that I'm continuously working on, like sitting with the um discomfort and the uncertainty that we talked about a lot in the course. Like I always come back to the uncertainty piece because um it can be I think it can be a massive trigger for a lot of people, and it is for me. Um, and when I think about myself coaching, I also sort of like try and see what could be happening to my clients, like as a mirroring of what's happening to me. And it's really interesting how this happens with my coaching practice as well, like how there was this like a spring energy in the spring
Mm.
and very kind of intense summer energy, and then this wind down and almost like going inwards, and to the point where I could have, or I could now be sitting here thinking, oh, nobody wants to work with me because
Mhm.
they've kind of gone quiet. But actually I feel like I'm building up the momentum,
Mhm.
and almost like not even the momentum. It's like there was a time when I wrote this newsletter, something about like how I'm gearing up to, explode like a supernova. And
Mm.
um yeah, like I feel like this work is so much more than just working with the cycle. It's also about like finding your own way and rhythm with cyclical living and being. Like I don't even want to call it living. It's almost like what is a way of being that is going to serve you and this business. That's kind of what I'm constantly thinking about.
Mhm.
And I've realized that even when I'm not actively coaching, I've been doing more workshops in autumn and winter, um, because I needed, almost like I needed that the collective energy, the energy of the collective,
Mhm.
um, of the group. And, even um, I lost my thought. Even when I'm not actively coaching, um, yeah, there's just so much that is coming together in the background.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that wasn't my thought, but I lost it, so I don't
No, I love it. I love it. I'm just
know.
getting sun on my eyes now.
Yeah,
So close it over a bit. Like
in the
that.
spotlight.
Yeah, yeah. Winter sun. I love that, Martina. And you mentioned a way of being. I love that. It's something that I hear like in my current class that I'm facilitating, the way you kind of start having realizations in the program like 3 months in. And like the
Mm,
students are like, oh, I'm realizing this is actually a course for being than it is for doing,
mhm,
And I'm like, oh great, this is working. So then I love that that's staying with you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's staying with you as you're because you graduated 5 months ago or so, 6 months ago, or no, last March actually. It was sort of like 8 months
yeah.
ago.
Did we finish in March? Yeah, we did. Oh
Mhm.
gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're now December. So you are you've really deeply embodied that work and integrated the work into how you're showing up in your life, in your business, your creativity. But like on the surface, you definitely are doing a lot because you did launch your website, and
Yeah,
we talked
yeah,
about that in our supervision
yeah.
group.
We did, we did. Yeah, and I think I took that to heart, and I've been like telling people, and people have been celebrating me. Um, so like I know on the outside I still have done things, so I keep like coming back to that, and
Yeah.
you know resourcing myself with that knowledge, like building myself up a little bit at times when I think, oh, you haven't really done anything that you can tick off the list. But
I
yeah,
know.
like
Our
you
brains
said,
are so crazy like that. They're just like, oh,
yeah,
I haven't created a seven-figure business yet, therefore I haven't done anything or whatever.
yeah,
Not that you're thinking that, but you know what I mean?
yeah,
And it's like, oh my God, actually, when you sit down and think about it, you've done loads, like you've learned, because I
yeah.
know also from the supervision groups, you had client cases that you brought into the groups and that you learned a lot from. You were
Mm,
processing a lot of like
yes,
dynamics and
yes.
stuff, that is hard to understand when you're only getting started. So in terms of your ability, your skill set, your coaching containment skills, and your ability to work with people in this space, because I do believe that this type of coaching requires different skill sets than other coaching from my experience and from what I see. And you're doing that work. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm,
Like you are able to support a client through a process and help them move through the challenges that they are facing and the challenges that they face that they don't see that they're facing, if you
mhm.
know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, and that's the stuff like you talk about labor, like when we step into coaching and supporting a client, it's not as simple as, oh, here's the material, let's do the work. We're stepping into a relationship with a client. It's a complicated space, endometriosis. Like the world has not figured it out yet.
Hmm.
The world has not yet figured out menstrual cycles. Otherwise, we would be doing the thing that works for everyone. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
from a coaching point of view, there's a lot of complexity, there's a lot of uncertainty, and that's not easy to work with in that space.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, one thing that I have found, I don't want to say problematic, but just like just not sitting well with me in the endometriosis space. And I think we've talked about this before in the course and maybe in supervision, is how there was this urgency of a fix, of like an answer or like a list of things that you have to do. And I know this so well because I was that person who wanted all the answers as well,
Same.
you know?
Mhm.
So, and it's almost like, how do you, like, I still, sometimes I have this urgency of like, I just want to shake you and tell you another way is possible. But I
Mm.
know that person needs to go on a journey. So, but oh, there's just so much like frustration and it's hard. It's hard to just sit there and observe from the sidelines and let them do what they have to do to get to where I feel they should be. Because again, where I feel they should be might not be necessarily right for them. So I can guide them, but they need to still arrive wherever they want to,
Mm.
they're meant to be themselves.
Mhm.
So it might not be exactly, like I say, it has to be pink. It might be like pinkish where they arrive.
Mm.
But it's really hard to not want to like my I don't know, I think it's like the Aries in me. I just like, come on, this is how it needs to be done. Even even though I understand the gentleness and the slowness which comes from like my emotional Pisces side, the Aries side of me is like, no, one, two, three, now you need to know that it's the other way. So
Mm.
it's not, so it's like it's not about like I'm gonna give you the solution, but I want you to know there is a different way. And
Yeah.
you know it now because you're wasting time and
Yeah, yeah,
all of
yeah.
that. So obviously like the urgency and the like the pressure that is obviously a bigger systemic thing as well is not something that I am immune to, even having gone on this journey. So um in a way it's like well, not in a way, it's a continuous learning and unlearning, I would say.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And I'm right there with you, Martina, right there with you. And just for the listeners to give a bit more context to what we're talking about is in the menstrual cycle space, particularly around conditions like PMDD or endometriosis or period pain or PMS, a lot of the information and support is very much like focused on doing stuff, like diet and nutrition and lifestyle and like more things to learn and do. Even menstrual cycle awareness is a thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is when people are suffering, they are in fight or flight fear in their nervous system, and they're looking for an answer, and rightly so, because they're suffering and they want help, and they most of them are not supported by their medical system, or they haven't gotten support. So there's a lot of like urgency in our bodies and in our minds and in the field at large, and pressure to do the next thing. And I was right there with you. Like I could give you a whole list of things that I tried and did, and every month it was a new thing. I was like, oh, I haven't done this yet, and I haven't done this. I'm like, oh, I must try this. And that then turns into where self-care becomes like stressful.
Yeah.
And then, or the opposite, if we don't do the thing, like if you don't do the castor oil pack, then that
Mm-hmm.
becomes the reason why you had pain that month, and then
Mm-hmm.
self-blame and all of this like really toxic kind of like relationship with the material. And it's hard to break out of that. So we're talking about that as like as a coach. So in the Menstrual Coach Academy, we learn a different way of coaching and teaching, and we have to meet clients where they're at and not disregard their fear and their worries. And how do we, so Martina's like talking about how do we stay with them in their journey while also helping them see
Mm-hmm.
those things that's happening. And it's hard. It's not easy because it can feel, because I did have friends as well, Martina, who said to me, Lisa, you, like one friend who she like, I love her to bits, but she'd be very honest with me, and she's like, Lisa, you're just coming from a place of fear and you're making decisions from fear. And I was like, fuck you, it's not helpful. This was like when it was my personal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, all that to say,
Wow.
yeah, is that like
So interesting.
it's a skill. I think this menstrual cycle coaching is a skill set. We can't apply the same coaching tools to menstrual cycle work because of trauma, because of fear, because of the nervous system. And then, like you mentioned, the industry at large as well and what's happening
Mm-hmm.
there. So it is complicated, and we want to take our time with our clients. So I've said enough there. I'm curious about what you saw in your client practice, and how you experienced working with people.
So I would say, okay, let me think about like a couple of major takeaways. So the main takeaway, the biggest one, I think, is for me on a personal level, or like as a coach, but it's also like it's hard for me to, like I was saying earlier, like I embody this persona of a coach. It's not a fake persona, it's me.
Mm,
So therefore it's hard for me to say like this is not personal, because one and like one feeds into the other. Um, I think the main thing I took away so far is that I can do this work,
mm,
and it requires a lot of self-trust. But then once I'm actually in the process with someone, it's it just becomes very intuitive,
mm,
and I suppose yeah, like it feeds back into what I was saying earlier, like people need my medicine, and it's going to be sort of like it's not something that is super tangible, and I think that's something that I'm still learning about and sitting with. Like they will see something that feels like an answer, and then they will hold on to that and come to me off the back of that.
mm,
But the journey we go on is might be completely different than what they imagined, and I think that's kind of what I've learned mostly from my experiences so far, is that not only it's not what they thought it would be, it's so much more than
mm,
they thought
mm,
they could get.
mm,
But equally, it doesn't feel laborious, like it doesn't feel hard for either side. So I think that's where there has to be some kind of level of synergy between the coach and the client.
mm,
And yeah, like I've definitely learned that it's important to, set boundaries very early on as well. And I don't mean just with the client, but also with myself, like what cases can I take on,
Mm.
what's within my remit. And as much as we work with this emergent process and very kind of, yeah, like based on intuition and like you were saying, there are things that I'm helping them journey with that they might not even have known that they have to work through. So that all can emerge, but there are times where it's just beyond what I can do, and I think that's also been very humbling,
Yeah.
um, so early on, because I'm very aware of not wanting to, add to someone's load equally, like by not being the right person to help them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, just a few kind of big learnings, but also I think a lot about, like, even with when I did my website, I wanted it to be like a playground, like a place where I can have fun. And in a way, like that's almost what I'm applying to the coaching practice. Like I want it to be somewhere where I feel um a little bit playful, joyful. And it's like energetically, that's kind of, I feel like what's needed because we're dealing with such heavy
Mm.
and difficult things. Like there needs to be an element of playfulness. And I don't mean that in a way of dismissing the larger, heavier things. Um, but I want it to be like a place, the practice, I want it to be a place where people will feel like they can just be themselves in their fullness,
Yeah.
but also, and that includes being silly and playful and maybe not taking yourself too seriously, even when you have loads of things that you need to not resolve, but that you want to
Like work
sort
through.
of, yeah, work
Yeah.
through and be in a better relationship with.
Yeah. I love that. You said shared so much there. What do I want to ask you next? When you talk about um the intuitive way that you work with people
Mm.
and the emergent process, and then you mentioned about people, they get so much more than what they even like signed up for.
Yeah.
Do you have do you have examples of that, or what do you mean by that?
So, okay, well, like this is quite a simple example, so it would be easy to understand. So, for example, someone came to me wanting, like, they came from off the back of some workshops that I did that were very much like they were quite spiritual, but there was the educational component was very much focused on learning how to track
Mhm.
your cycle. Because for people who've never done it, I felt like that was a good starting point.
Yeah.
And it's so like I'm so grateful for this client because she just wanted to find more ease with her tracking. And together we basically like we hacked it. It's probably going to be difficult for me to describe this, but what she came away with was a more embodied understanding of her cycle and a completely changed relationship with tracking.
Mm.
So we basically we focused on like the mindfulness component or the mindful, well, basically MCA being a mindfulness tool, and we focused on that sort of, I mean, because you could call menstrual cycle awareness many things, including the mindfulness tool, and we focused on that iteration of it in a way. So we I suppose, I mean, she did essentially develop a completely different relationship with her body
Mm.
um, by, listening to her intuition. And that came through after our conversations and working together and her testing and trialing different ways of tracking. And in the end, tracking became like a mindful moment, but also more of like a part of her inner knowing.
Mhm.
So it became just something that is rather than something that has to be done. I
I
think that's,
love that,
yeah.
Martina. That's so powerful. And I think people listening will be like, oh, that sounds gorgeous. Because it's true. We don't want to, like we just talked about, give people more stuff they have to do or feel bad about not doing,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
And I love that you use the word we because you're working collaboratively with her. And you like,
Yeah.
it sounds like she came to you with a clear goal around looking for more ease. And because of the way you think, because of the way you're now trained, you now know, okay, there needs to be ease in the process. Otherwise, we're not going to get there. And so you might not have known how you were going to get to that goal because you didn't have
Mm,
the answer for a different way of tracking that worked for her. So it sounds like you figured it out together in the journey, in the process.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love
Yeah.
that. That's so lovely. Like you're like teammates. You're working on the
Yeah.
same thing and
Yeah. Because I guess like I was learning alongside her as
Mhm.
well, like understanding her better and also understanding this tool better
Mhm.
through her. And so yeah, it's very interesting how it does become like a group effort in the end. Like it's
Yeah,
not,
you're learning with her as opposed to
yeah,
like teaching at her. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And that's the lovely thing about this way of working as well is like you mentioned the word humility. There is humility in that we don't have to know it all. And oh yeah, like I can learn with like I when I sit opposite a new client, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know where we're gonna go. Like I have an idea of why they're there and what they want, but I
Mm,
don't know what it's gonna move within me,
mm,
or
mm,
what's gonna come to my mind. I don't have those scripts and it's
mm,
so much more easy for me to then just work from that place because I'm not having to like strive to be this like perfect coach. Do you know what I mean? But
mhm,
rather trust the body of like the lineage of wisdom that comes through me from all the teachers and courses I've done.
yeah,
You know, it's such a gift to
I
give
love
to your
that.
clients. I think it's such a powerful shift for people to realize they don't have to like that their healing journey doesn't have to be hard work.
Hmm.
And that is the work.
Yeah, yeah.
Because because I like even in the course now, people are realizing, oh, okay, I don't have to like study this like curriculum, and write a
Hmm.
load of essays. But that's
Hmm.
challenging. Like that isn't easy because it goes against what we've all experienced and learned.
Hmm.
That it all has to be hard work. You have to read all the books to heal yourself. You have to do all the things, and to drop that can feel disconcerting.
Hmm. 100%. Yeah. You know, it's in it's funny that you should mention this now because I actually went through like a phase of reading a lot like over the summer. I think I don't even know how to describe. I think it's weird because a part of me is like, was I numbing with the books or was it just a phase where I just needed to absorb? And I think I read like 14 nonfiction books this summer.
I love
I'm
that.
still when I looked at it, I was like, what? Why? What were you doing? Like, how did you manage that? But I was just like, yeah, give me more. I want more. And it felt good,
Mm,
right? But then my focus shifted and I was like, okay, now just sit with it. You probably didn't absorb like all of it, so just like pick what you need and leave the rest.
mm,
And I've sort of for the past few months, that's what I've been doing. Like I've been going back to those books and sort of just, oh, how does that feel? Does this work for me? Oh, should I like if there were like any sort of because they were from spirituality through psychology, trauma. What else did I read? Like nutrition, all of these things, all of these modalities. I'm now more in like a testing and trialing phase.
mm,
So I'm like, oh, how does this feel? Do I want to go back to doing more yoga nidra for myself? Like
mm,
asking myself questions,
mhm,
um, and like doing any exercises that were given in the books. And I feel like that's a much kind of easeful way of
mhm,
learning.
mhm,
and it's almost like I'm giving myself grace and compassion for the super eager me, because like during the course I think I read like 3 books.
Hmm.
So I didn't read a lot. That were like we had on the curriculum recommended as optional reads. Like I know they weren't compulsory, so I was like, oh, I'll just play with it.
Mm.
And I consciously picked books that weren't something that I maybe would have read before, like, about blood sugar, and then one about anger, and I think one more, I don't remember. Um, so I was almost like catching up in a way, it feels. I don't know. It felt like it needed to be done, that
Yeah.
absorption, like
Oh, a
heavy
100%.
training
Yeah.
period needed to be done. And
Yeah.
now it's like out the way. I
Hmm.
can just sit with the information, go back to it. I'm a person who, so I ran 2 book clubs, and I'm very
I
like,
love
yeah,
that. I
yeah.
love that.
Um, I'm they used to I don't know what those people were called, like the quantifiers. So people who like count how many things they've done in a year, they have like lists and stuff. So I'm like this with books. Like I like to like I have multiple apps where I track my reading. I have a reading goal every year, and I try to hit it or surpass it. And it's like a thing. I have a whole
I
community
love
for
that
it,
so much. Okay. Yeah. I love it.
And it's fun. Like it doesn't, there's no pressure. If I hit my goal, I hit my goal. If I don't,
Yeah.
I don't. And but for the last 2 years, I was very good at hitting my goals. Like, oh, great, I'm reading more than I like planned to read. And this year, I was just like, just let it go. Just let it be.
Wow.
You know everything that you need to know right now. Like, it's fine. And
Mm,
I'm way below my goal, and I'm not even trying to finish the books by the end of the year.
mm.
I always read multiple books at a time. Um, and I'm just, yeah, basically just going back to the books that I read this summer, which currently is the Yoga Nidra book. That's why I mentioned it. But yeah.
I love that, Martina. This is like I love because I feel like I'm getting to know you more through learning about your relationship with books, and you're owning that too. You're like, oh, I'm someone who reads multiple books, that kind of way. Like I usually have a nonfiction one and a fiction one and maybe an audio one on the go as
Well,
well,
there you go.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm,
But that's so good. And I love that as well, that it's like, yeah, we do move through phases of needing to learn the information. I think I probably moved through about 5 or 6 years of that,
mm,
where I was just giving myself permission to go to the bookshop or the library and look at the nonfiction section. And that's how I discovered all of this work
mm,
through the amazing voices and writers out there in the world, or speakers and teachers. It's not, I didn't come up with this myself. Do you know what I mean? So it was really
mm,
like leaning into voices, wisdom, into the elders, teachers, healers from all different modalities and like bringing it together. And I think to give yourself permission to do that. And I think as well, if you are someone who is a natural teacher and a healer, which you are, and a creator, you're a creative, very creative person, you will have you will move through cycles in your life where that happens, where you're like absorbing, and then cycles where you're kind of in that like no, like I'm a bit more in a no phase right now with it. Like I'm reading a nonfiction book. Sorry, I'm reading a fiction book because I was like, I really need to just like relax over Christmas and read a
mm,
nice novel. So I think just to give ourselves permission for that, for those different phases
mm,
to move around us. But yeah, I love
100%.
hearing that about your work, and to trust that like when we do read that, after some like those voices that you've read will inform your work and your practice. We don't have to remember everything.
Mm.
So gorgeous. Um, I wanted to ask you another thing.
I want to know what you're reading.
Oh, I'm reading a book called The Night Circus. Have you heard of it?
Oh, no.
No, I hadn't heard of it either. And what I did was I put 5 or 6 of my all-time favorite books. This is a new thing that I'm trying, so I'm curious to hear what you think about this
Mm.
as a reading person. I
Okay.
put no, I put maybe 7 or 8 of my all-time favorite books into ChatGPT,
Oh,
and I
okay.
said, "Here's my favorite books ever that I adored, and I want something to read over Christmas. Can you recommend some books to me based on these books?" And it gave me a whole list of things. So the my favorite books are, I'm not going to list the names of them, but they're mostly human stories,
Hmm.
beautiful writing.
Hmm.
Some of them are written by South American or Spanish writers. I can't even remember them all now that I think of it. And then some of them are Irish as well, like like English Irish literature. And they've always been books that either really bring me to another world, you know.
Hmm.
The Shadow of the Wind is one of my favorite books. You read that?
No, it's by a man, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
read a lot of women
Me too.
fiction, so
Me too.
yeah.
Yeah, me
Hmm.
too. I know I read Claire Keegan recently, who wrote the book Small Things Like These. Now she's a short story writer, so they're not
Yeah.
long novels, but she has that, or the movie with Cillian Murphy was just made on that
Oh
book.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that, sorry, yeah. So she's brilliant. So
Yeah, I've read that.
beautiful, right? Like she's like a female version of James Joyce. Like, and she's not getting, I don't
Mm.
think she's getting the credit for it, you know? So
Hmm.
I'm like all over her. But yeah, or the
Isabel
guy who,
Allende.
yeah, I
Mm.
haven't read a lot of her actually, but I think I've only read, I think I've read two books. The second one I can't remember, but Paula, the memoir about her daughter.
Ah, no, I haven't read that.
Gorgeous. Yeah. Have you read
Mm.
House of the Spirits?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Is
yeah,
that,
of course.
would you
Yeah,
recommend that?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, of
Okay,
course,
okay,
yeah.
okay. I have to read that. Okay.
It's a
Okay.
classic. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I was
She's
like,
amazing.
I have it. And I started
Yeah,
reading. I was like, this is actually kind of hard to follow. It's not easy. It's not an easy
yeah.
read, you know?
No, but her
Um,
writing, she's very I feel like she's a good chameleon. Like she almost like she's herself at the core, but she's like changes genres quite easily. Like she can
yeah,
write differently almost with
yeah,
every book. So
yeah.
there's like books that are a little bit simpler and easier to follow, and then there's House of the Spirits.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I think I read an easier one and I didn't love that, the
Mm.
easier one. So I probably need to just challenge myself with the House of the
Oh,
Spirits one.
yeah, it's a good one. I
Okay.
might reread that actually. Yeah.
So anyways, I'm reading this book called The Night Circus because apparently it's like kind of magical realism and it's a good
Ah,
story. And
yeah.
it is, I started reading, I was like, actually, this is easy to read. I can follow it. It's not really like dense literature. So, and I don't love stream of consciousness. There's some writers I love, and some of their books are like stream of consciousness, and I find that
Hmm.
really hard to follow as well. So,
Mm.
anyway, we're really going on a tangent here, but
Yeah, I know. We could. Yeah, that's
I
another
know,
thing I could talk
but
about
I
for
love,
hours.
yeah, I know, but it's so good to be connected to beautiful art and
Mm.
spirituality and healing and, be in a world where we have access to books, and Kindles and libraries and all of that and audio books as well. So
Mm.
yeah, that's my tip was to play with ChatGPT, which I've been doing this year, and see what it says, and I even used it recently with some personal problems. I put some personal problems in there and it was like coaching me. It's
I
like,
love
oh,
that.
this is so good.
Yeah. Playfulness.
I
That's what
know,
we
there you
need.
go. I know.
Mm.
Anyway, Martina, is there anything else that you wanted to share about your work, where you're at with menstrual
Mm.
cycle work? Yeah.
Mm. I don't know. Uh, no. Yeah, I think there's
You've
nothing
shared a lot.
urgent. Yeah. Sorry, what did you say?
I know I said you've shared so much. It's been so
Yeah,
valuable.
I've shared so much that I didn't think I would, so I don't
Mm.
really have anything
Well, what would you say to
pressing.
someone who's, well, two questions. I'll start with the first one. What would you say to somebody who is struggling with pain and menstrual symptoms, and maybe endometriosis or something like that?
Mm. What would I say to someone? I would, as in like in as in just a piece of advice
Yeah,
or
if they
with
were
the
looking for,
intention.
yeah, if they were looking for some wisdom from you and some
Hmm.
encouragement. Yeah.
I would definitely say to have a lot of compassion for yourself.
Mm.
And I usually like I would recommend books to read. So this is something that I have done. And I was thinking like, what do I do first? Oh yeah, I tell them to just go easy on themselves, and then I gave them some books to read about the menstrual cycle and just, offer like I think because I have been on this journey, it's easier for me to come from an empowered place. So, but I know when people are quite vulnerable, the empowerment piece might not be resonating immediately. Like they want not the pity, but they just want a listening ear, maybe.
Yeah.
So I usually just let them talk and then leave them with some material to study, and then I'm there if they want to chat about it
Yeah.
further. So I would say like just loads of compassion, and even with the reading, just like use it as something that you can explore rather than this is your homework, something that you have
Mm.
to do. And just basically look at those reads as an invitation for something different that you could do. Because especially if people come to me saying they've been doing this and it doesn't work, it's like, how about you do this different thing?
Mm.
Because maybe then you'll get different results. But
Mhm.
since we are all kind of, well, we're creatures of habit, it's really difficult to break out of that mindset of like, oh, why don't I just do the same thing, but bigger.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's just that gentleness. And I think that's why, like, I called my business and the work with the cycle the kind space, because, you know, kindness is so underrated. Like there's just, and it can mean so many things. It's so broad in a good way. Like it contains all of those gentle approaches to self. So yeah, as much as I am very fiery, to balance it out, I needed the kindness for me. So it's like my constant reminder.
Mm.
And
I love
yeah, and I
that.
want to impart that to other people. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a fire too. I'm what
Mm.
am I? Sagittarius.
Mm.
In two of my signs, I think. So I don't know much about it, but yeah, two apparently I have a lot of fire. So I have
Uh-huh.
a pink heart magnet on my fridge that says kind words. And
Mm.
it's literally I bought it for myself, literally to remind myself because I will forget.
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
I love that you called your business the kind space. I'm going to make sure that's all linked as well. But before I close, is there anything you would say to someone who is thinking about doing this course, doing this work, stepping into menstrual cycle teaching and education? Any
Mm.
there?
I would say, I mean, to anyone considering this course, I would definitely like say 100% please do it. Do it for yourself, do it for everyone in this. Like, I just think doing this work and working with you specifically can have an immense impact on the person and a ripple effect on everyone around them. And I think the beauty of it is that it's not about just teaching you how to be a menstrual cycle coach and like tick that box. It's so much bigger than that. Like I've been talking to my parents differently since I've done this course. I've been
Mhm.
like relationally being with people in a different way, and so much healing has happened thanks to this course. So it's so much bigger than just getting a qualification. So yeah,
Thank
that's what I would
you.
say.
Thank you. That's so lovely. That's so encouraging. And thank you for saying those kind words. And I love hearing that as well. That's a whole other podcast topic we could discuss, right? Parents and relationships. I was only thinking that yesterday. I was like, I'd love to talk more about relationships, because it's
Yeah.
complicated. Like, because this work is really
Mm.
the relationship with ourselves, which is beautiful. And then, but we don't live in bubbles, we relate to people and
Mm.
family and stuff. So the way I see it, it's like at university, you do there's like a master's, there's a
Mm.
bachelor, a master's, and the PhD. And like the master's and the PhD is like the relating to other people.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like
I
another,
love that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's such a good comparison. Oh
I
my
know,
God.
yeah, because I remember I came out of mic training with Alexandra Pope. I literally walked out of the door of the building that we were in, and I was like, how am I going to figure this out in my relationships? Like,
Mm.
it was like this big thought I had.
Yeah.
So I think I'm doing it and you're doing it. We're figuring it out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, it's so hard to do this in relationships because sometimes we are like it's so niche what we do, and it's so we in our bubble in a way where we understand each other's language, but then to bring it to the outside, it's almost like bringing it into the outside world.
And
It's
it's
that
another universe.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I know. ChatGPT is really helpful for that because I was even just writing some text for a web page and I was like putting in somatic and all these like jargony words. I was like, can you like make this easier to understand? And ChatGPT will just write it differently. So I'm just using that all the time.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh. I love it. I've been using it for a lot of things and like plans and
So handy.
simplifying stuff.
I know. It's like my feminist tool because it's making things less hard for me, you know. Just
Mm,
throw it in.
yeah.
Anyway, I'll stop banging on about that. But I love what you shared there, and thank you so much for sharing that. I did have another thought, which was I can't remember now, but yeah, I think, oh yeah, I remember now, which is looping back to what you were saying earlier about the emergent process and then what you shared at the very start when you were
Mm,
talking about how you're doing and it's December and we're in this unknown place. I would say that like you're probably now you're stepping into and you talked about owning being a business owner, you know,
mm,
and that this way of being that we're learning in menstrual cycle work and in the coaching as well can then translate into the business self, which is
yeah.
another level too, you know, because there's
Hmm.
loads of stuff you have to learn that's really hard and it challenges us. And one of the things I learned about business was I have to accept that I'm going to be uncomfortable a lot of the time. Like I'm not going
Mm,
to have all my feelings resolved and my nervous system isn't always going to be perfectly regulated, you know. But
mm,
if you want to do something, if you want to, not everyone will want to or will need to, but if you need to or want to have a full-time business that
hmm.
funds your income, then yeah, you have to kind of like, you know, own that and learn lots of things. So it sounds like you're doing that, Martina. So watch this space. I'm excited for you and your practice. You've done so much personal work, so much practitioner work, so much supervision. Martina can be found at thekindspace.co.uk, and I'm going to link your Instagram below. What's your handle?
At the kind space,
At the
as in,
Kind Space.
yeah,
Yeah.
the kind space.
And
Yeah.
her website is beautiful. So she's doing one-to-one work. Are you doing courses or workshops in person? What else are you doing?
Workshops, yeah.
Workshops. And you're also a fantastic, beautiful brand photographer as well. I know there's a lot of healers, practitioners, therapists who are looking for that work as well. And is
Mm.
that in person in London or
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
in
Okay.
London, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, amazing work you're offering. Anything else that you want to share?
No, I think
Yeah.
that covers
You
a
have a
lot.
Substack as well?
I do. It's been a bit dormant, but I'm reviving it.
Okay. 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 And
I
your
do,
book
yeah.
clubs, are your book clubs virtual or in person?
Well, one is in person, it's a local book club, and one is, it used to be open, but now it's just a closed book club. We've
Ah,
had
okay.
it for 4 years, but it used to be open, but it's not, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not
Close.
anymore.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I
a
feel
small
like there
group.
could be something brewing, something to do with books and literature and writing and Substack and
Mm.
something there for you. Don't know what it is, but I feel it.
Yeah, 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 definitely. It's almost like it's there happening in the
Yeah,
background slowly. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
under
brewing.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's germinating under the soil, like in
Hmm.
oh, so we got to trust that and see what emerges.
Yeah.
Because I'm in a similar place with my because I paused my podcast, so I'm in a germinating, don't know yet what's
Mm,
happening thing, and I'm like, oh, what's happening?
okay. Well, I think my biggest kind of the biggest little project is to get my newsletter from the website out
Nice.
next year. So
Yeah.
that's the priority.
Yeah.
But there could be like a book clubbish part to it. I don't
Well,
know.
yeah,
Like I've always, yeah,
yeah, you've read a lot, you read a lot, so you can have a little section that's like recommended read of the month or
yeah,
something, you know.
yeah,
Because clearly
definitely.
people are looking for recommendations and I'm relying on ChatGPT, so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
might be a better resource for recommendations.
I'll send you some books, by the way. I was thinking about books for you
Oh,
already. So
really?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
fab.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
definitely send me a
Yeah.
list. I'm all ears. I'm a slow reader though, so it takes me time. But when I get into a book,
Oh.
I won't. I'm really bad. I won't finish a book if I don't love it. So,
That's good. That's
do you
actually
think?
good. That's
Oh,
a
great.
yeah,
Okay.
that's a
Okay,
good
great.
skill.
Boundaries.
Yeah, to have. Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah. Oh,
Thank you.
I like that. Yeah, well done.
Thank you.
Get
There's
a
so many,
praise
and that's
from
the
the
thing about
audience.
like bestseller lists. Sometimes I get hooked into like, because in Ireland there's a lot of like the writing author world is quite cliquey, and they all like
Mm,
promote each other's books. If there's a writer who's got a new book and
mhm,
it's like loads of advertising, and then like last
mhm,
year, 2 years ago, I bought a book that everyone was talking about, and I was like, this, I just couldn't connect to it. I didn't like it.
mhm.
So yeah, so it's a whole journey, that whole relationship with
Yeah,
reading.
yeah, it is. Oh my gosh, it's so like there's so much psychology to it, and yeah, it can like trigger you in many ways or like uncover things about yourself
Oh, interesting.
through it. Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I'm curious to learn more about that. Anyway, I'm gonna let
Maybe
you go,
I
Martina.
should start that book club for
Yeah,
yeah
100%. That would be so good.
for the community. That would be
Yeah.
nice. Yeah. Mm,
And even like when you talk about female writers,
mhm.
like, yeah, there's like it is good to read nonfiction, but oh my God, reading fiction can be so healing, you know? Like
Yeah.
it's like I think it's the original form of self-help is literature
Mm-hmm.
and the arts.
100%. Yeah. Well, it's yeah. I mean, we talk about this in my book club all the time. It's almost like we have this like we have solo therapy with the book, and then we come together and we have like a group
Group
therapy when we
therapy. I love it.
yeah, yeah, pretty much, yeah.
That's so nice. One of my friends hosts the Silent Book Club in Dublin.
Ah, yeah, I know about that one.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's a
yeah,
cool concept.
yeah. They don't discuss books, but they'll sit in a cafe and read their book that they're individually reading. Because it's like if I'm sitting on my couch and my phone is on the table and my book is there, I just pick it up. It's terrible. I have to put it in another room, It's so bad.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Anyway, okay.
Mm.
Whole other topic, Martina. But so good
Thank
to
you so
talk to
much.
you. Yeah, it's so good to talk to you. I love hearing all your journey and everything you're learning, and you've so much to offer the world. I will put all of the links and everything underneath the video. And otherwise, have a great Christmas. And thank you everyone for listening and being here with us today.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Take care. Thanks for joining me on the Menstrual Cycle Mastery podcast. If you'd like to begin this work with me, I run the Menstrual Mastery Collective, a monthly membership where you can dive deep into this work live alongside me and a supportive community. I'm also the founder of the Menstrual Coach Academy, a professional training space for trauma-informed coaching and facilitation. Head on over to the links in the bio to sign up for courses, programs, and grab any resources available. I'm so glad you're here.